All right. What up? What up? What up, everybody? It is your girl, Jackie Johnson.
And it's LaQuisha. Hello.
And we are My Sister and Me LLC. And we want to welcome you to episode 6 of Sister Conversation.
Conversations in black. We trying.
Hey, hey.
We trying.
We had to in black on cue this time, though, sis. We had to in
Did
black.
we?
Yes. Yes, a round of applause. We got the in black part in unison.
Woo.
What's up, Tessa? I see you,
Hey, Tessa Boo.
bestie. So for all of our Facebook live watchers, thank you so much for joining us. We appreciate your love and your support. We got a good episode for y'all today. They all be juicy, but we got a good one for you today. Our topic today is growing pains. Wee. So it's a lot of places we can go with this growing pains, and we probably will go a lot of places with it today. But since you want to go ahead and get them a little intro before I do our little opening clip.
Yeah, so the growing pains that we're talking about today is going from trauma to victory, and how to not view the trauma that you have experienced in your life as completely devastating, but to go further and to go on. Often people live in the trauma of their childhood, they live in the trauma of past mistakes and things and experiences, and they don't grow beyond that point. So having experienced trauma, because we are people of color, not just black, but everybody, um, we want to talk about how some of you grow past your trauma and how we have grown past some of our trauma in our childhood and elsewhere. So that is what today's session is about. And we also, if we end up touching on it, we can talk about how trauma leads to dysfunctional relationships if it goes that route.
You know it's
But
gonna
for
go there. You know it's gonna go there.
but for right now, we are talking about the trauma of childhoods and teenagehood and even young
Yeah.
adulthood that we bring on ourselves. Okay. That people don't grow past. And this is not a bash my parents session,
Yeah.
because I don't have that to do. I love my parents, both of
Exactly.
them.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep. Absolutely. All right. Well, let's get into it. We're gonna start y'all off with a clip that we feel like kind of embodies a little bit of what we're talking about. So give me a minute. I'm gonna share my screen.
And while she's doing that, if you have anything, I can't see the comments, but I know that Jackie can see the comments. So if you have anything that you want to add, maybe if you want us to discuss, feel free to do so. You can also send it to our inbox.
Yep. All right. Here's the clip, guys. Some of y'all may be familiar, but we're gonna talk about this here trauma. Somebody tell me what movie this is from. Mm, mm, mm. Ooh, wee. No more hangers. What's my hangers doing in this? This was somebody, mama. I swear it was. No more hangers ever. Till I'm half dead, and I hear people saying she's getting old. What do I get? A daughter who cares as much about the beautiful dresses I give her as she cares about me. Wow. What's my hangers doing in this closet? Wow. Answer me. I buy you beautiful dresses, and you treat them like they were some She tripping. She tripping, tripping.
We're gonna see how many wire hangers you've got in your closet. Huh? Why? Christina, get out of that bed. Get out of that bed. You live in the most beautiful house in Brentwood, and you don't care from wire hangers.
Well, God. We gonna stop the clip right there.
Well, girl, excuse me. Let me go check my closet for some wire hangers.
See, she beat the mess out of her over some
Ain't nothing in there.
hanger.
Whew, thank the Lord I ain't got no wire hangers in there. They plastic. But wait, let me go check for some extension cords. Hold on.
Listen, we ain't even
Oh,
playing. Like, I'm not even playing that was somebody's mama. Okay, somebody grew up with a mama like that. Okay.
yeah.
And then if I'd have let the clip keep playing, there was also a scene right behind that where she asked her, did she clean the bathroom today? And she said, yes, mama, I did. And she goes into the bathroom and she's like, it's not clean. And she starts throwing stuff all on the floor. And we're going to scrub this floor together. And she's like, mama, it's clean. She's like, no, it's not. And she just starts spazzing out. So we use that clip because even though we laugh about it, that literally is somebody's life, was somebody's life. And that is a lot of trauma to put a child through. And basically, she put her child through that trauma because of her own emotional and mental disabilities, her own issues, and she was not able to handle her own emotional trauma, her own mental anguish, and so she projected those things onto her child and made her child's life a living hell.
Yeah. Yeah. So to add on to that, kind of wanted to get off into it real quick, because I know we're not going to be able to unpack everything. Let's talk about what childhood trauma is to begin with, because I think that there are a lot of people that don't really know what it is. Okay. You think that it was just normal behavior for certain things to happen in your household. If they happen, if they happen, if they didn't, they didn't. And you know, a lot of people go by the Bible that said, the scripture that says, "Spare the rod, spoil the child." Um, there is another scripture in there also, though, that, and I don't want to really debate this, but there is another scripture about parents not antagonizing, and I'm paraphrasing, their children. But let's go ahead and talk about the word trauma. Trauma is used to describe a serious injury to a physical body, resulting from a sudden impact of a violent act. But you can also suffer emotional trauma, which can, and I'm looking this way, y'all, because I got notes here. So I don't want to miss anything, which can cause an equally painful wound to your sense of self-worth, and the way you are coherent, to understanding people and the world. When trauma is left unresolved in your experience, with of yourself, is one of being whole, of somehow being, so the trauma unresolved takes you from wholeness to brokenness. You're likely to bring the footprints of this trauma, this brokenness, into relationships. To have healthy relationships, you must have a healthy sense of your own being and place in the world.
That's good.
So, again, point number one, trauma results from some form of violent act against your physical self or emotional person, and can leave a scar of brokenness that you will, there's no can, you will take into adult relationships. And it also changes your view in the way that you comprehend the world and the way that you are even coherent of relationships and conversations that take place with you. Okay. Just like out, and for an example, in case anybody doesn't get that, just like alcoholism impairs whether or not you're coherent to understand. So you can try to have a conversation with a drunk man, and a lot of people say, oh, a drunk mind speaks sober thoughts. That, I think
Right.
that's what they say. However, I think a drunk mind just speak what they want to say. It doesn't mean it's sober thoughts. It just means that they're drunk at that point in time. They're emotional, and so they're saying whatever they say. Period. Now they've finally gotten the gusto to speak from their emotions. Okay, but that's still dangerous
Very
at
much
the end
so.
of the day, because if you can't relate your feelings from a sober mind dealing with wisdom,
That's it.
you shouldn't be relating your feelings from a drunk mind, incoherent. But
Mm.
that's not the subject today.
Right.
Okay. So, um, whether the trauma occurred in childhood or adulthood, it changes your experience of yourself. So here's what I mean. It changes your experience of yourself, and therefore that changes your experience with others. So it's an internal thing first, and then it changes with everyone else. A lot of people think, oh, well, they just been through so much, and they having conflict with everybody. But remember, the conflict started within first because of unresolved trauma or issues. You want to add anything to that, sis, before I keep going?
No, I think it's absolutely on spot what you're saying. The reality is we internalize things before we ever externalize them. When somebody does something to you, when you experience any type of trauma, any type of abuse, any type of violence against you, you internalize it before any kind of behavior alters or changes. It's about how it affects you, you know, how you see yourself now that this trauma has happened to you, now that this violation has happened to you. How do you view yourself now? You know, do
Yeah.
you go into a shell? Are you afraid now? Do you feel like you have no rights? You know, have you been violated in that aspect? And even like using the clip, and that's why we did the clip, because we wanted to have a base to keep referring to, you know, so that we're not really attacking some of the things, which we're going to talk about some of the traumas we actually did face as children. And again, not necessarily known as trauma because it was just culturally acceptable. It was a culturally norm thing for kids to endure. But then when you grow and you understand and you mature, you understand that you went through some trauma as a young
Yeah.
person in your home or in the environment that you lived in. And the issue is you internalize it from day one, whether somebody talks to you about that trauma or not, you internalize it.
Yeah.
So, you know, and that's where the behaviors start coming in at, is because you now have a different viewpoint of yourself and that you begin to act upon.
Yes. So one of the human, and here's one of the reasons that it leads to dysfunctional relationships. And I don't just mean romantically, but I just mean in general. Okay. Because it's a human instinct to protect yourself after you've gone through such trauma.
Right.
And so, even though you're protecting yourself, oftentimes you're protecting yourself under a misconception because you've gone through trauma.
That's good.
Because, let me say that again. Oftentimes, you're protecting yourself under a misconception
That's
because you've
good.
gone through trauma. So, the way that you view things is from a traumatic experience and
Right.
not from a healed one. So, therefore, oh my gosh, I'm
So it's
preaching
an
and I'm not
altered
really
sense
trying
of
to.
reality.
I'm not trying to preach. I promise I'm not. But at the end of the day, you are going through things and you're experiencing these life experiences, dealing with them from the trauma and not from a healed place. So when you begin to protect yourself, you're protecting yourself from a trauma place and not from a healed place. Therefore, you don't have a clear understanding of the situation, nor probably do you have a clear understanding of the person that is trying to love you.
Exactly.
But I digress.
That's good.
Because that ain't what we talk about today.
Hey, but it's go
I'm trying. I'm trying. I promise I am. But we have to be real. Like trauma deals in every area. How we raise our children, what kind of jobs we get, how we go through school, how we deal with relationships, how we deal with friendships, how we interpret God, how we interpret different religions. Like the trauma, it affects everything. And so if anything, this podcast right here, people really need to be on, because if they missed every other podcast, this one is really important. Because at the end of the day, whether they watch it today or watch it in 10 years, this podcast right here is going to break strongholds.
Mm-hmm. Because we need to get down to the nitty gritty of it. And I'm going to tell you something, like me and my sister was having a conversation and I said to her, I said, the sad reality, sis, is about 90% of the men that you talk to or encounter in any capacity from our cultural background is going to be dysfunctional. And she was like, man. And I was like, I'm going to tell you exactly why. Because we come from a cultural background that does not teach us to acknowledge our hurt and our trauma and our pain and deal with it and heal from it and move forward. Our culture taught us to swallow that stuff, man up, be strong, and go on. That is culturally what we have been taught as men and women. And the reason why I said that culturally it's the men of our culture that are 90% dysfunctional is because women will get to a certain place and they will recognize dysfunction and they will seek how to get better from it. Men do not typically seek out help or seek out how to better themselves or seek out how to change. That's not something that is innate for most men because of the pride that they have. They will have to lay down their pride to talk to someone else and say, help me. I don't understand, but I realize that I'm dealing with some trauma. I'm realizing that I'm dealing in some dysfunction. Men are typically not that way. So
they're not.
So they'll continue on, and what men do is they shove it to the side, or they suppress it, or they work on top of it. They do whatever they have to do to keep moving. Women will get to a place where we recognize our dysfunction and we will seek help to not be dysfunctional anymore. So 90% of the men in our cultural background are dysfunctional or are dealing with a level of dysfunction because they have not chosen to even address the trauma that they have experienced in their life, let alone face it, heal from it, and move forward. And so, so this is why we're talking about kind of childhood trauma, because like she was saying, these traumas, they stem over into every area of your life. And you can suppress things for 10-15 years, but at some point it is coming out. And most of the time it comes out in our relational interactions, not just romantic ones, friendships, family dynamics. Why you think there's so much drama in so many families? It's not just because your cousin off the chain. It's because everybody's dealing with their own level of dysfunction and don't know how to deal with each other's dysfunction. Okay. And then you have friendships. Why you think people don't know how to be a good friend? Why do you think they question you when you are a good friend? It's because they have undealt with trauma and dysfunction. So
yeah.
So I see one of our Facebook watcher said it's the nature of the man. That's why we have to study Adam. Adam struggled with the same things.
I disagree.
All right, we'll talk
I
about.
totally disagree. It's not the nature of the man, because God did not create Adam to be dysfunctional.
Mm-hmm.
No, the nature of man when God created Adam was to have power, which is why he was the one with the authority to name everything in the garden.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, it was to walk from a victorious place. The nature of man did not fall until Adam took and blamed his wife, or blamed Eve for for until sin entered the world. But the nature of man, if we are created in God's image, we are not created in dysfunction. So I disagree in that aspect.
She said the nature of sin is what she's saying.
Okay, the nature of sin.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, the nature of sin. Yeah.
Yeah.
However,
Adam was a communicator. Adam was a communicator from the beginning, because remember, he walked in the cool of the day with God every day.
he did.
So but again, when we talk about go back to Adam and Eve, I always tell everybody that is the model. That is what God intended. So anytime we see actions outside of the model, that is the dysfunction that we're trying to rectify. So like now, a lot of men are not communicators, but the model of the man was a communicator. So now when you find men who don't communicate or have difficulty communicating, that's something that needs to be worked on. And a lot of times the reason why they are that way is because of the nature of the trauma that they have endured and never dealt with. So again, it's still going back to, and the reason why we really wanted to talk from a standpoint of being young and your environment is because those are the roots of all the stuff that you are enduring now with that relationship, or with that family member, or just with that friend that who doesn't know how to be a friend. You're now dealing with the effects of the root cause. And so you got to take it back to the root. If you're going to fix a situation, you got to go to the root problem of that situation. Somebody said generation.
Yeah. And I agree, sis. Like we know that there's no good thing in sin. Right. So let whoever said that, I agree with you. It all goes back to sin. Sin led us to dysfunction. It taught us to not, discipline well, all kind of stuff. So whoever said that, because I can't see the comments. I agree with you on that point. But let me just say this. The Bible says that now, therefore, there is no condemnation to those who are in Christ Jesus. We have the power and the ability to come up out of that. Amen. And this is not one of them things where we're not going to do that, because I'm not trying to do that. I'm really not. I'm just saying, I agree with you.
Which simply denotes that you have to change it. That's all.
You have the power to do so.
That's it. All that scripture is telling you is you have the power to change it.
Yes.
And that's what we're talking about. Even on these podcasts, we're talking about real life stuff, and we're trying to be able to reach a demographic who ain't church, who don't believe in religion and all of that. But the reality of it is, this is why we're talking about, you got to deal with your root trauma. We have every last person, I don't care who you are, you have endured some trauma at a young age. And unless you have someone there guiding you and teaching you how to deal with trauma, you did not know. So what you did is you internalized that trauma, and you develop behaviors and characteristics based off of how that trauma made you feel.
Now, what did someone else say, sis? Somebody else said something.
So I had, the comments was the nature of sin stem from man. It was another one that was saying that basically it goes back to the generations, father seeds.
Okay.
And then somebody said, yes, a changed mind. And
yes.
So, yeah.
Okay. Yeah, it does go back generations. I agree with you. The Bible talks about going to the third and the fourth generation. Yes. I don't want to. Okay, we're not gonna make that kind of podcast. I throw the notes on that later. But the Bible does talk about going back to the third or fourth generation. So you are absolutely right. All of you all have great input. We know that means that we know what we talk about. Not just me and her, but me and you and whoever else is on this podcast. Like we can identify. We gotta change it.
Yep.
Because
We gotta change it.
The dysfunction that people are allowed to walk in inexcusable dysfunction.
Ooh,
I can't do it no
now
more.
that's it. Now see, wait a minute now. Now you
The excusable dysfunction is too much.
Stuff that I've been talking about. And this is the thing. And I said this even earlier this week. When you come from a place of dysfunction and then you finally become healed and you finally become of the mindset to know how to come out of that dysfunction, and you start living your life in a way that is now healthy, when people start telling you and giving you opinions that are unhealthy,
woo,
and it's like the popular opinion,
no ma'am,
you gotta then be able to look and say, wait a minute, because I had a moment even last week where so much was coming at me, and if I would have taken it in my emotions, I would have forgot about my own maturity, my own healthy functions, and I would have been listening to the advice of all these voices.
And you know your sister, I was like,
And sometimes you will think, because this is how everybody else feel, like maybe something is wrong with me. Nope. The reality is, when you become healthy and you become a functional individual, the choices and decisions you make will seem irrational to people who are still in dysfunction, and still unhealthy. You cannot.
All right, ma'am. That's the truth right there. So listen to this. At the end of the day, we cut ourselves off because we want to stay away from the disappointment of other people because of the trauma that we've gone through. And what we try to do is we repress that stuff. But the symptoms of unresolved trauma include addictive behaviors.
Come on now.
Inability to deal with conflict, anxiety, confusion, depression, and an innate belief that we have no value, or an innate belief that your value is a value to everyone.
Sis, I'm gonna need you to repeat that list.
Because you're a narcissist.
I'm gonna need you to repeat that list one more time.
Okay. Number one, addictive behaviors. Mm-hmm. Inability to deal with conflict the correct way. Conflict ain't bad.
Yeah.
Inability to deal with conflict, anxiety, confusion, depression, and an innate belief that you have no value, or an innate belief that you have too much value to everyone.
Oh, wait.
Because you're a narcissist.
Oh, wait. Now, this is the result of what now?
This is the result of undealt with trauma, repression of trauma. Now, let me clarify addictive behavior, because the first thing people want to go to is what hit us in the 80s and the 90s, crack. But baby, addictive behaviors can be gaming. Yeah. Addictive behaviors can be alcohol. Addictive behaviors can be in everybody's business because you don't want to deal with your own, so you constantly looking at somebody else. Yeah. Addictive behaviors can be sex. Addictive behaviors can be overindulgence of anything, including food. Addictive behaviors can be a number of things. So before you get to pointing your finger at somebody else talking about what their addictive behavior is, what's yours?
That's good.
Okay, because I'm gonna be honest with you, and this is a transparent moment. After my mother passed, I realized that my addictive behavior was drinking wine. Like,
that's real stuff.
And I'm gonna go ahead and put it out there because I don't drink like that no more. Right. But this is somebody that was the evangelist in church, all this and all that, can preach. All of that, but that's why your gift is not determined.
Right.
The anointing That's not determined by your life, by your struggles. The gift comes without repentance.
Right.
Okay. And I can be transparent with this. Ain't no shame in my game. My mother passed and I was going through a divorce.
Yes.
At the same time,
Ooh,
I drank a lot.
girl, I don't even know how you stand it.
Because I had 3 deaths in the matter of 3 months. And 2 of those deaths was in 1 week apart from each other.
Mm-hmm.
Let's just keep it
And
real.
very instrumental people in your life. That
Very.
makes a whole difference.
And then went through a divorce at the same time. Oh, girl, please. I was working and drinking.
Mm-hmm.
I was working.
Wait a minute, and even work can become, because that became my addictive behavior.
Yes.
I was working
Yes.
to literally the point of exhaustion.
Yeah.
I was
Working
doing
and drinking.
so much. I was doing so much. I couldn't even, like, I wasn't sleeping. I wasn't,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? Like, shoot, addictive behavior can be anything. Shoot, watching
Anything.
TV.
And you know what happened? This is why I say that we got to stop excusing stuff, because people was like, well, you a working mom. All moms drink wine. All moms drink wine. That's what it was taught. I ain't trying to convict nobody. I'm just telling you my journey.
Right.
Okay. And then I'm going to get off of this because I ain't even going to stay on it too long because I don't like people in my business. But anyway, I was working and drinking and going to therapy at the same time. And so not until I went through, not until, do I want to say this? Not until I went through something did I realize that I'm drinking too much.
Mm-hmm.
I might be making money, bills is paid, children are doing great, but I'm drinking too much.
Mm-hmm.
And I just like cut it off. Like, I'm done. I'm not going to be able to do it because it was clouding my judgment, my mind, and everything. And I realized for me, I just wanted that connection back because I have such a pure connection with the spirit, with the Father, that I wanted to get back. So I did. So anyway, that was my testimony, but I'm trying to tell you that was a trauma. The point of that was a trauma that led to an addictive behavior.
Right.
From an evangelist. So don't let the people, and listen, let me tell you something. I'm an evangelist, but I'm an ordained pastor. So don't let people in the church be like, oh, well, you know, like they don't deal with it. Baby girl, my guy,
I don't care.
They deal with it.
I don't care who you are. I don't care who you are. I don't care what position you hold. If you have undealt with trauma, it is coming out somewhere.
Mm-hmm.
It is coming out somewhere, whether it's publicly seen or not. And this is the reality of what we have to start doing, is being honest. And I know people think that when you're supposed to be successful, or when you're a minister, or you're some type of public figure, or you, whatever they think you is, they act like you think that you're perfect and you have no issues. No.
Right. No, we don't.
Our culture has not allowed us to be vulnerable,
right,
for the people, because anytime a minister or somebody or a star or whoever say that they struggling with something, y'all automatically start judging them like they ain't really who they supposed to be. No, being a believer, being a minister, being a star, none of that exempts you from life.
And let me tell you what you just said right there. You know what that's called? It's called soldiering on. Okay. And when your emotional health has been compromised and you soldier on through life, sucking it up, as they say, without resolving the trauma that has occurred, the wounds will continue to fester, primarily in how you perceive and treat yourself, and then spilling into your relationships with significant others, all because you soldier on. And there's such a misconception of the strong Black woman.
Oh my God. Now we need to talk here. We really need to talk here. She just talked about that soldiering on. Let me tell you something. I have, since birth, I have endured trauma after trauma after trauma, and I was always taught to soldier on. But I'm here to tell you that you have to come to a place where you come face to face with your trauma, your abuse, your violations, and you have to face it, and you have got to actively seek healing for it. And
Yes.
healing is a process. It's not just the moment you pour it out. It's not just the moment you cry. It's not just the moment you tell somebody. It is a process. Healing
Yeah.
is a whole process. And depending on the type of trauma, can depend on the length that it will take you to heal. Even when God's supernatural hand is in your healing process, it is still a process that will take time. And what I
Yeah.
really want to talk about, that soldiering on stuff, we have our culture, our religion, our environment has put
Yeah.
pressure on us that we cannot be weak, that we
Stop.
cannot accept trauma, that we cannot accept loss. But I'm here to tell you that ain't where I live no more.
Amen.
When I separated, when my husband and I separated, I stepped down from ministry.
Yeah.
I said to everyone who was a part of my organization, I am going through some things right now. I am on a journey to heal. I refuse to bleed on people.
Yeah.
And that's what a lot of religious leaders do,
That's important.
because they've been put up on this pedestal like they Superman, Superwoman, they can do no wrong. And when life hit them, they supposed to just be able to just zoom past it. But no, when life hit us, we have to deal with it too. We
Yeah.
got to heal with it too. We got to get therapy too. And that is not the time for you to be preaching over your hurt. That is not the time for you to be laying hands over your internal drama. That is not the time for you to be having revivals when you're dealing with your own stuff. And the reason why I know I'm not talking about what I heard, I'm talking about what I know, because I lived that life. I went through a
Yeah.
whole depression where I was absolutely depressed every day of my life. But when I was in a pulpit preaching, I was good. I felt powerful. I felt strong. I felt happy. And then I would go home to a husband and I was literally depressed.
Yeah. So that's really important.
Because they teach you, oh, you just need to preach. Oh, you just need to let it
Yeah.
out in the
No,
word of God. No,
I
you
ain't
need to
bleeding on
sit
nobody.
down. You need to go to a therapist and get some healing. You need to recover, and then you need to come back preaching strong. But our religious establishments and our culture has not allowed us to take a break. I can even talk from a standpoint of being a single mother and having to raise my children on my own, but dealing with all these losses and these traumas. You don't have time to lay in the bed and cry. You
No,
don't
you
have
don't.
time to take a couple of weeks to try to get your mind together, because you got to get up and go to work the next day.
You
But what
definitely do.
do? We shove that hurt in the back. We shove that trauma in the back, and we hold it back long enough to go to work and do what we got to do, come home and take care of our kids. And maybe in the midnight hour, we'll shed some tears. But most of the time, you don't even do that because it makes you feel weak.
Yeah, no, I didn't cry.
It makes you feel weak to do
I
it.
didn't cry much.
See what
Me
I'm saying?
personally, I did not cry much after all of the traumas that I experienced. I didn't cry a lot. I was just trying to work, eat, drink, and sleep because I didn't want to deal with the pain of loss.
That's what I'm saying.
And that's just what it was. But you brought up a great point. You brought up healing. And so I want to go to some ways of healing because people think, okay, healing. But what we have to do is we have to start to tell people how to heal.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yep.
The pastor, the preacher, and this is not me coming down on pastors because I just told y'all I am an ordained pastor. I do not have a church because I have certain beliefs about me pastoring and
Yes.
marital and stuff like that. So that is not what I am going to be doing at this point until the Lord says so and God brings me the husband that wants to do it with me.
Mm-hmm.
That's just my opinion.
Hey.
You don't have to agree with me, but my opinion is when God brings me the husband that wants to pastor, then I will have a church. Until then, no, I'm not going to be doing it. Okay, so we have to talk about the steps in healing because this is so important, right? A lot of people say fasting and prayer. Well, come on now, you're a Christian, like you're a believer. You're already doing that, right? So, but there are some other steps.
Some more stuff.
Number one, Number one, you have to understand trauma and the effects. That's important. Okay? You can't you can't take a top off of a bottle without understanding which way it should turn. You
Right.
understand what I'm saying? You could literally, I don't have a bottle, but you could literally be turning a bottle the wrong way and tightening it.
Exactly.
Until you understand, there you go. Until you understand the way the bottle is supposed to turn,
That's it.
you can't get the top
It's
off.
just getting tighter because I'm turning it the wrong way. Now,
Oh, I just said something.
come on now. Help her, Lord. I hate when she do that. She likes to fall out her chair. Y'all need to pray for her. Can't stand her.
Just said something. This is what I'm trying to tell y'all.
I'm falling off your chair.
I just said something. You have to understand the way the top turns off the bottle before you can get the bottle top off.
Facts.
Okay?
You're gonna be frustrated.
You're going to be frustrated and you're going to all your strength. Next thing you know, you try to poke a hole in the bottle and suck the juice through the bottle. Come on, baby. You got to understand the trauma and the effects of the trauma.
That's good.
Okay?
And
When I understood,
because if you don't, you won't recognize you're actually going through a trauma.
you won't. And then when your children get to act in a certain way, you won't even know why. You know what I'm saying? It could have been a behavior or something that you did. Anyway, listen, y'all got the analogy. The next thing is share your story. Now, disclaimer.
Mm,
You can share your story, but do it with people
there you go. Now,
that you are comfortable with,
and you trust.
that you trust, that will hold you.
So important.
Don't do it with people that will use it
Wait,
against you.
don't you do this to me?
Yeah, I'm going to do it. And I'm going to be honest with you, it may not be a lot of them people. You may have only one or two people in your life
Facts.
that you can truly share that with.
Them is facts.
That's okay.
I want to interject right there.
Go ahead.
And the reason why I want to interject right there is because I had several experiences, just like what she's saying. And the reality is, again, when you mature and when you learn to heal, you recognize things quicker. So in the past, I have shared my story with people that I thought I should have been able to trust. And then what happens is they look at you differently. They don't
Yep.
treat you the same. Or you get those people who already was kind of jealous of you,
Yep.
and they felt like everything was going right in your life, and now they finally have something that's not going right. So or then you get those people who tell you business.
Don't be a pastor.
That's
When you share your journey,
and honestly,
they judge you.
And honestly, some of them was pastors who did the stuff I'm talking about.
They'll call you a fake pastor.
You know,
because you shared your journey.
You a hypocrite. You ain't who everybody's saying. You ain't who you. These are some of the things I have heard. Everybody's saying you
Me
ain't
too.
who they thought you was. You ain't as anointed as they thought you was. Like,
yep.
like literally. And I'm talking about from people that I thought was
so
my people. You know, and
sad.
So recently, I had this situation happen again. The only difference is now that I'm a more mature person and I understand proper healing, it was kind of like, I ain't gonna lie, I had a little bit of frustration. Like, why would I ever talk to you about what I'm dealing with? But I didn't say that to the person, but
your sister did.
But internally, I was like, yeah, don't need your help, don't need your advice or your guidance, you know. But I did not externally say that, but internally, that was my thoughts, because I knew that person was having a moment of gloating because they finally thought they
not okay.
They finally thought they had a place where they were outdoing me. a place where I had failed and they were successful. And so they masked it by trying to act concerned.
Let's talk
And
about that success though.
yeah. And
At the end of the day,
I knew they weren't really concerned with me. They just really felt like finally she's not the one on top. You know what I'm saying? And that was so it was disheartening.
heavy.
It was
That's
disheartening.
heavy.
Yeah,
That's heavy. Let me tell y'all something real quick. I don't give advice where I'm not delivered.
that's good.
Period. When
Mhm.
I was drinking my wine back to back, I ain't tell not nan alcoholic how to get off of drinking. You can judge me all you want to, but I'm a realist. I'm a believer, but I'm gonna keep it all the way 100 with you. I'm gonna keep it a buck. If I'm not delivered in an area, I'm not getting ready to counsel you.
Yeah, facts.
No, I'm not until but know that I'm actively seeking deliverance.
Hmm.
And once I get it, I got you.
Right. Because
But
we can't walk through. I can't talk to you about something I ain't walked through
no,
because it's theoretical knowledge unless I
yeah,
know that it works. And one of the people said that's why you have to make sure we are sharing with safe counsel. And that's exactly right. That's exactly what she was saying.
yeah,
That you want to share, but you want to be able to share with somebody who you can trust, somebody
yeah.
who's not going to hurt you with the information, somebody who's not going to judge you with the information.
Yes.
One thing about
That's awful.
our relationship is as I've been going through the things that I have been going through with the separation of my husband and different, emotional traumas.
That I've already been there.
Right. I talked to my sister, number one, because I knew that she loved me and she had a love for my spouse as well.
Yes, I do.
So that she was not going to give me a one-sided view.
Yeah. And let me say, I do, not I did.
Right.
I do currently
Mhm.
have a genuine love for him. Okay.
So I knew she was not going to give me one-sided information. So you have to be careful of that because when you start talking to people who love you but don't necessarily love the other person, they will side with you. They won't be able to objectively say anything in that person's defense or blah blah blah. And so I deliberately spoke with her because I knew that she did have love for us both and I knew that she had walked through it. And I also knew that the relationship we have, we tell each other the truth.
Yeah, we do.
You know what I'm saying?
As hard as it is.
Yes, we argue, we fight,
A lot.
we love each other, and so we have that dynamic.
We don't physically fight.
And then the tip of it,
Not physically.
yeah, no, we don't fist fight, but we
lose.
verbal combat. Okay?
I would have to shoot her.
She definitely would. And she would shoot me. So we're not fighting physically.
In the foot only, though.
I'm not getting shot. Okay?
Only in the foot.
Because she don't fight fair. She don't fight fair. I'll be telling her, come on. And she be like, bang, I ain't got time for that. I ain't got time for that. But I deliberately talked to her because of those things. Not only that, but she was a minister. I'm a minister. I knew that she would even understand that aspect. And I knew she would not judge me.
No.
That was important because if you're going to feel judged, you're not going to be free and you're not going to be really open.
Yeah, I thank God for the beauty of our relationship. And like I said, if you only have one or two people that you can truly speak to, then that's just you're one or two people. Relationships that are authentic are important.
My other friend that I talked to, she gave me the compassion because this one right here, she went really on the compassion. Every night, if she really saw that I was vulnerable, she would give it to me. But most of the time, her was like, she held me to a higher esteem as far as you might be here, but this is where you need to go. You know what I mean? But my other friend, my sister Tessa, she was like my love. She was just like,
hey,
how dare they hurt you? Like she was like trying to kill everybody and fight everybody. Like, don't be hurting my sister. Don't be hurting my friend. So I needed that too. You know what I'm saying? But both of that combined was a safe space for me. and it really nurtured healing. There were times where Tessa would call me and say, "What you doing?" And I'm like, "Nothing." And she could hear the pain in my voice, and she'd be like, "Yeah, let's go to dinner." And I
Yeah.
knew all she wanted to do was get me out the house
Yeah.
because she could feel the emotional trauma that I was
Yeah.
dealing
She's the
with.
soft one
Yes,
in an
so
area.
that's my heart, you know. But what I'm
Yes.
saying is they were both trusted
Love
sources.
Tessa.
They were both trusted sources. I could trust them both. I didn't have to worry about neither one of them judging me or talking about me or taking my business out or gloating or feeling like, oh,
Yeah,
we,
there's no gloat in that. You
yeah,
know, when people do that, it's disturbing. There's no gloat in that. I am your sister.
but
That is your brother.
it shows you how dysfunctional people are.
Like, come on. Like, seriously, you need to grow up because your gloating makes you look inadequate. The next part of the healing process is developing a witness conscience.
Mm-hmm.
And what I mean by that is everything that you go through is not associated with your trauma.
Right.
Okay.
That's
So
good.
you need to know.
Ooh,
Go ahead,
talk
sis.
about this. Talk about this.
You need to know where to place things. Your man coming in late is not associated with your trauma.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it could be if your mama came in or your daddy came in late and beat you, but just know that if it's not associated with that, no, know where to place that. If your man is not coming in the house and beating you, then why that don't have nothing to do with your daddy coming in the house beating you. Your man coming in too late because either he working late or he on some bull. Okay, so you need to figure that out.
Right.
So develop a witness conscience. Go back, you know, what did you learn from that stuff?
Mm-hmm.
What was it? Okay? And recognize the triggers. When you recognize the triggers, you'll be able to point that stuff out and communicate that with your partner.
Right. Now that's important.
It's very important. I had told my partner, listen, I had been Lord, I had been physically attacked by a man that I was involved with, that I had a child with, and I ended up anyway, some bad things came out of that. Okay. And so it only happened one time.
You crazy, yeah.
It only happened one time, okay? But I put out a disclaimer.
Right.
Don't put your hands on me.
Yes.
Cuz I don't know. I'm delivered, but them reflexes.
Right.
Them reflexes is everything.
Deliver, but the reflexes.
I'm trying to tell you. So I put that disclaimer out there, and that is because I recognize what the triggers were, because I've dealt with the consciousness
right
of the trauma,
right,
and that's what I mean.
yeah.
Okay, so recognize that.
Well, before you move on from that,
Yeah,
I want to piggyback about them triggers.
Yeah, go ahead.
It's super important that you understand your triggers and that you communicate your triggers, especially like if you're getting involved with somebody and it's like new, you need to be able to disclose those things to them, because it can be something really normal that happens normally in relationships. But if it's a trigger for you, that person needs to know so that they don't, or they understand if they do it, when this crazy person out of nowhere, or
Yeah,
this super fragile person or this super emotional person comes out, they'll know it's because, oh man, I forgot that was her trigger. Like
yeah,
that, because they need to know if you have triggers and things that remind you of past trauma, anybody you're involved with, even if it's like your best friend, like they need to know, because if not, and they pull one of your triggers,
yeah,
you will mentally go to another place, and then you will dismiss them because you will feel like they don't care about you.
yeah.
They disregarded your hurt, your pain, but really you never told them about your trigger,
About your triggers.
and so
It's
they don't think
important.
it's that serious, because it's like this happens in relationships.
No, but it doesn't. Like it don't happen in mine.
Yeah,
So share your triggers. The next thing is to develop emotional resilience.
okay, definitely gonna have to elaborate there.
Okay. So you experienced your trauma and your feelings. Um, feel the anger. You're aware of your where your
Wait a minute,
feelings
did you
were.
say feel it?
Yeah, you feel it at the time. And even in later years, if you are just going through something, a lot of people, instead of acknowledging the anger, see, this is all about acknowledgement. We have to stop pushing things in the background.
There it is.
Acknowledge those
That's what I
things,
wanted you to bring out. Mhm.
feel those things. You do not have to act on what you acknowledge or feel when it's internal. You do not have to act on what you acknowledge or feel when it's internal. Sometimes it can be internal for your process and not for the next person. Okay? So, yes, you can share that with them after the feeling has subsided, not while the feeling is good. That's why men don't want to talk to us. Ooh, did I go there? That's why they don't want to talk, because we already emotional. We're feeling some type of way, and we constantly talk. They don't want to talk because now you're talking from an emotional, you're not talking from a logical place. And ladies, one thing I've learned, and this may not be for every man, but for some of for some men that maybe God is going to bring into my life, I pray that they are logical people and high thinkers, because I need them to be able to comprehend on another level. Okay. And so my ex-husband is a very wise man. So I had to speak to him sometimes in a way after I was the anger and the emotion had gotten out of the way. I had to speak to him from a logical perspective. So emotional resilience is important. Your emotions can serve you as information guides moving towards healing. After you sat in the emotion and figured out what it was and where it was leading you to. Now you can't do it while you're in it. It's got to be after you figured it out. Okay? The next thing is
Okay, stay right
learn.
there.
Go ahead.
Because you know I got a rebuttal. You know.
All right.
So I agree with that. I do agree with that statement. That's how it should be. However, I also believe in certain situations, um, you're not going to always be able to have a conversation after the emotion.
That's possible.
And in those cases,
Yeah.
any man or woman that you are involved with should have the maturity, emotional maturity, to hear you. They don't have to say anything because maybe you don't want to hear it. Maybe you're not
Right.
ready to attack it or deal with it or anything. But let them get it out.
Yeah.
Unless they're attacking you or unless they coming at you, let them just spill it. You understand what I'm
Yeah.
saying? And then
Let them.
yes, let
That's the
them just
key.
spill it because they're getting it out. Like
Yeah.
I can honestly say, like there has been times where um I was with my mate and we had something like that going on. And oftentimes, like I would not know what to say.
Yeah.
And I would just choose not to say anything.
That's
And,
big.
and then afterwards, I would say, like, thanks for, sharing your thoughts and feelings with me. But I kind of need some time to think about it because I don't want to discuss it right now. I don't want to like
Yeah.
talk right now until I've processed it. Now there were other times where it just turned into a screaming match. But
Mm-hmm.
but whenever I was using spiritual maturity, it turned into, okay, I hear what you're saying, but I can't discuss this right now. I am too emotional to discuss this.
That's the point.
Yeah.
You lived in that emotion first.
Yeah.
You worked through it and then you were able to, but you're absolutely right.
But what she's saying is absolutely right, because if we could do that, it would keep down so much. Ooh, it may even save some
I
domestics.
know.
It was,
I know. I know.
but
Oh,
it would be so much more valuable um
yeah.
than you just, I don't want to hear it,
Yeah.
or
I
avoid.
wish people did that more,
Because
sis.
men won't even say
They
like I don't
do.
want to hear it. They will just ignore you, act like you ain't said nothing, like just go cold on you, and then that pisses a woman off.
All the way.
We feel already like you're dismissing our feelings, and
Yeah.
now we feel like you're totally dismissing us. So even like in situations where you don't want to deal with that situation at the time, the best thing you can do is say, I'm not ready to hear this right now.
Not
I'm not
ready.
ready to discuss this right now. Just give me some time and then we can have a conversation. That's like the
That's so
best
true.
response you can give. But ignoring, acting like they ain't say nothing, or running from
Right.
the conversation indefinitely, coward. Coward move.
It is what it is.
Yes. Okay.
The next thing is learn ways of self-soothing. This is we talking about how to deal with trauma.
Mm-hmm.
Learn what makes you happy.
Mm-hmm.
You don't have to answer it. You can if you want to in the comments.
Right.
What makes you happy?
Yes.
What brings joy to your life? I realized that I live in the sunny state of Arizona. I'm on the West Coast.
Mm-hmm.
Sun rays every single morning, they brighten my day immediately.
Yes.
And self-soothing, I walk several times a day.
Mm-hmm.
I live in a peaceful suburb. Those are things that makes me happy. The one thing that makes me most happy is watching my children, young people, because they're not children anymore, grow up and live life as healthy individuals. Oh, that's amazing. And having a good relationship with my ex-husband. That's important for me. May not be important for other people. It's important for me because we have children that we're raising. So I've said this on this podcast before. I will never disrespect him. He taught me a lot. I spent half my life with him, and his success is I feel good about it, and that's that. I'm gonna leave that alone. But learn ways of self-soothing. What do you like?
Absolutely. My
What's important to
Yeah,
you?
because my self soothing was, I love flowers, so I would buy myself flowers every week. When I really felt some kind of way and I really needed to pick me up, I go sit by water because I like
That's
water.
nice.
It's calming. I feel like I can feel God when I do that. So I would do that. Taking drives in the car, just driving and just letting the sun hit me and the wind blow and just, doing karaoke with the kids.
Yeah,
Those things were things that I use as self soothing. Having adventures with the kids, like we'll go someplace we never went before. We'll eat someplace we never eaten
you
before.
like to travel.
I do. So those
Hmm.
are all self-soothing things that I chose to do. So when she says, find ways to self-soothe, you'll need that, because on those heavy days when your healing process is having an emotional day, because what
Yeah,
people don't understand too about the healing process is just because you're healing doesn't mean you're healed.
sure don't.
And sometimes people will try to mock you. Well, if you're healing, then why are you doing this? Because I'm
Right,
healing. I'm not healed. It
weirdo,
means I am going through, but I'm not at the
judgmental
end.
weirdo.
I'm not at the end. So it's like, don't judge people when you know that they're actually trying to heal. A person
Right,
trying to heal is 10 times better than a person who hasn't even begun, who
exactly.
won't even acknowledge they need to. And so don't let people make you feel some kind of way because you're not all the way through it. We're hard enough on our own selves.
Sure are.
I feel bad when I have an emotional day. Because I've gone weeks and haven't been emotional one time, and then now I have an emotional day.
Yeah.
I already feel bad. So I'm not going to
Yeah.
let you make me feel bad too, because then I have to start thinking about where I have come from. And
Yeah.
not just in the process now, but like me and my sister talk all the time about healing Jackie back then and healing Jackie today, because healing Jackie back then, she tore up a few cars and houses and cut a few folks and fought a few folks before she ever got to a woosah moment.
Yeah.
Healing Jackie now has kept her hands to herself. And
Yeah.
everybody in the world ought to be grateful. My God. See, she done fell out. Because
Whew.
anybody who knew me
Oh Lord.
will tell you, oh, bruh, she not gonna keep them hands to herself. I done fought whole men.
Whew.
But
Oh,
I
back.
promise y'all,
Whew.
this time I have kept my hands to myself.
Whew.
I ain't gonna say I didn't have a few moments of verbal threats, but there was only
Whew.
a few moments. And so it may not look like healing to other people, but for me, it is progress, it is maturity, and it is healing. And
Amen.
so so those self-soothing things, you will need those, because in those moments where you're struggling, or you're having an emotional day, or you're having a bad day where you're not feeling like you're where you want to be in your journey, those self-soothing things will give you some peace.
And I've only got two more. This one is it's pretty self-explanatory. Consider the spirit. Consider God. Okay, I'm not trying to get super religious, but let me just say that, deliverance is a powerful tool.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe some people aren't believers. Okay, so but I can only speak from a personal experience. For me, deliverance has helped me in so many areas. My mother was a believer, my grandmother was a believer, and so that helped me deal with their passing, that helped me deal with their death. There are days that I have felt like an orphan, mama gone, daddy gone, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But when I think about the Lord, come on, somebody, and all that he has done for me, my soul cries, hallelujah. Thank God for saving me. No, in reality, though, I
I
begin
thought I
my
saw Mother Worship come on here.
come on, listen, don't bring mother worship on here. There are days that I begin every day in prayer, and I end my nights in prayer. And I know that my connection with him and the consideration of that dimension, it's important. There is a higher you. Let me speak to you. There is a higher you than this. You.
She said,
There is a higher you than this. Okay. And whatever trauma you've gone through, you ended, Lord. My sister be talking about my therapeutic voice. Whatever trauma you have gone through, you have experienced, listen, you made it. You made it out. Now all we got to do is eternally deal with it, so that we do not put those effects or those things on other people. Connect with the King. I'm telling you. Even somebody asked me, well, Quisha, and that's my name, but you can't say it. Somebody said, Quisha, how do I pray? I said, well, how do you talk to yourself? And they said, well, I say this, and this. I said, well, tell them. Just like that. I don't have the concoction on what words you need to say. He just wants you to be genuine.
mm-hmm.
The spiritual dimension is important, okay? Love you. All right, the last thing is take your time.
That's good.
Take your time. Healing, It's just like she said. People think, oh, you going through healing, you're supposed to be healed, blah, 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 blah. Don't let people listen. If they judge you, cut them off.
Yep. Because you
Okay. I said to y'all on the first podcast, if you block them, you unblock them, you block them, you unblock them, you block them, you unblock them. It's a part of your healing process, baby. Eventually, you're going to get to blocking. You're going to leave them blocked. Take your time and don't beat yourself up for taking that time. Everything is a process. You didn't get into it overnight.
Now that's an important point.
How you going to get out of it just that quick?
Yep.
I had somebody that I extremely cared for. I still care for them. I don't know if they watching or not. Don't care. I pray for them still. Does that mean that I want to enter into dysfunction with them? No. Feelings don't die overnight.
That's right.
They don't. And when you have history with a person, if you are a person that is genuine, there's going to be something inside of you that is going to feel a level of compassion for that person. I don't care who you are. I don't care how wrong they've done you. I don't care, because you're going to feel some level of compassion for them. And I do. And several women do. So I ain't trying to hear it. Girl, I wouldn't do this. I wouldn't do that. Okay, whatever. But we know you got somebody somewhere. Take your time.
That's good.
Trauma is trauma, and it takes time to heal from that. And if you still love a person even after the trauma, that's your business, as long as you get healed. Where does it say that we can't love people even after the trauma? Where? Somebody tell me, oh, you shouldn't love them. Where? Who told you that? Mahatma Gandhi? Dr. Ruth? Who told you that? Because if you are the type of person that's walking in healing, love is a part of you. And that's my spiel. So I still love those that have used and abused me. I still love you. I still care for you, because I walk from a place of healing. Yellow, yellow, green, red. And I want to see you healed.
I can't stand you.
I want to see you delivered, and I want to see you set free. Okay? And that's how you know that you are truly past certain traumas. You got something you want to add to that, sis?
Yes. When you're past the trauma, you will feel that. Okay? You don't feel that always going through the trauma.
No, you don't.
Okay?
No, you don't.
I just want to add that little tidbit. But the reality is, if you have ever really loved anyone, love does not dissipate. It doesn't disappear.
No.
What happens is it goes down to a level that you can live your life freely without them, and you can love them from a distance. You go from loving them and being in love with them and wanting them to loving them, and they have a place in your heart forever.
Yeah.
That doesn't mean you want to be with them, you want a life with them, you understand what I'm saying? That's what real love does that.
Yeah.
Okay? So the reality is, I agree with her analysis. Take your time. And in my opinion, that is the most important part of all of that, because we live in a society and a time that tries to rush everything.
Yeah.
People want you to immediately something happened to you. Oh, get over it. Nah, it ain't that easy. Get over it. It's not that easy. I wish it was that easy. I wish I could just tell yourself, get over it, and you're over it. But that's not how it happens. Time and active work on healing is how you get through and over things.
Yeah.
And so don't allow people to rush you or make you feel like you're doing something wrong.
Right.
Because the reality is, it may take you a while. Some people heal a little quicker than others. And I did say a little quicker than others, because There's no way if you've had a 10-year marriage, you're not healing in 6 months.
Show ain't. Baby,
You're not
I
healing
can
in a
attest to
year.
that.
You're not healing in a year. You may be functional after a year, but like literally the time that you've been invested, and I tell people this all the time, however long you were with that person, it's going to take half of that for you to completely be healed.
Whew. I'm trying to tell you.
Completely.
Yeah.
Like to the
Yeah.
point where it's whatever. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like
Understand that.
it's a thought.
The
And
healing.
so, but the whole point is, to keep actively searching and working towards your healing.
Yeah.
Because what some people will do is they'll start, but then they'll quit. You don't want to
Yeah.
quit in the middle. You want to
No,
walk
you
all the
don't.
way through it, because if not, then you get to a place where maybe emotionally and mentally you're not thinking about the person, but you still have dysfunctions now that are playing out in your current relationships or your current
Right.
social circles, because you didn't walk your healing all the way through. So you may not be thinking about that person anymore. You may emotionally not cry or anything when you see a picture or something like that, but you have trust issues. So now
Right.
there's a new person who's trying to come into your life and love you, and they could be the one, but you can't even accept them because you don't even trust.
And let me just add on to that. You don't trust and you don't know how to treat them.
Yeah. Ooh.
Because anything that they do, you view it from a trauma experience.
Ooh, that's so good.
You view it from your past experience, so you throw
Yes,
that heap of garbage on them.
that's good.
That's so unfortunate, men and women,
Yes.
because you could have someone that truly, genuinely loves you,
Yes.
and you have thrown the garbage on them from your past trauma relationships,
Mm.
and you don't want to deal with it. And so, what you do is you project. You say, well, you have this and you have that, but no, you know the problem is you.
Yep. That's good.
Often those people project. Let me move on. The healing of trauma, just like the healing of a broken arm, is essential to a healthy, functional life. Moving towards a healed life and realigning with your wholeness brings you more fully into the present, making room for connection, intimacy, and freedom.
Good stuff.
Okay.
That's a good wrap. So
All right.
basically, in my wrap up synopsis is we have all faced trauma. But now it's time to actually heal from the trauma. It's time to
Yeah.
go back and dig that trauma up and face it. You don't
Yeah.
trust men. Where did that come from? You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? You can't marry somebody. Where did that come from? Like,
Yeah.
it's time to dig it up. It's time to face it and then actively work toward it. She gave you many heals, many tools and things that you need to do to heal. But I'm gonna also say get you a therapist,
Yeah.
because in conjunction with those things that she gave you, in conjunction with your prayer life, in conjunction with your higher power belief system, you will need an actual therapist, somebody who can walk you through processes and help you
Yeah.
understand processes, somebody who is so neutral.
Yeah.
Because a lot of times, like even with me and my sister, she was a part of my process, but she was not the process,
Mm-hmm.
because there were some things that I were able to express with her, but it was some things that I only discovered in therapy because that person was a neutral party. So they did
Right.
not consider my character, they did not consider my behavior, they did not consider anything because they didn't know me. And so, again, that is something that you need to do. My ploy and my prayer is that every person that sees our broadcast will understand that no matter what topic we're talking about, healing and therapy is two things you will continue to hear. And of course, belief in God. And those are things you're going to continue to hear in every podcast, because they are the base, they are the core, and they are the root to getting beyond and healing beyond anything that you encounter. And once
Yeah.
you develop those abilities, you can handle any trauma, any situation that comes in your life, because you'll know how to handle it. You'll know
Right.
that you need to talk about it. You'll know that you need to face it. You know that you'll need to understand it, and you'll know that you need to heal through it. You need to get therapy through it. And so it becomes easier to go through the
Yeah.
process of healing because you identify that you need to be healed, and that creates a healthy process in your life. And so it's very important, if we are going to be successful in life, if you're going to have a successful relationship with anyone, you and
Anyone.
them need to know how to heal, because there will be things that happen in those relationships, in those friendships,
Yeah.
in those family dynamics that will require you to go back through a process of healing. And sometimes when things happen, you don't have to walk away from each other. You simply both just must decide to heal. And if you
Correct.
have those tools, you will be able to do that. The problem comes in is when you don't have those tools. So it's the hurt trying to heal the hurt, or one
Yeah.
person has the tools, the other does not, but they don't want to get
Right.
the tools. So that's
Right.
where the break happens. But in a healthy relationship, we'll be able to experience some things, and we'll be able to heal together and grow on from that point. And so that is what I want for my life, and that is what I would like to see happen more for our culture and our people, is that we would deal in a very healthy and emotionally healthy way with one another, so we can produce these long lasting relationships,
Yeah.
friendships, and bonds.
I had a Facebook viewer comment that was like, people over 40 shouldn't TikTok.
Oh wow. Well, too bad I'm TikToking.
Mind your business. Okay, let me speak to the viewer comment, because you know we got this section. If we want to TikTok and go on there and express ourselves or whatever, we want to create people or whatever, that's our business. If you don't like it, you ain't got to watch the tick to the talk.
Stay off my TikTok
Tick,
page.
you can tick yourself on off the TikTok page. Okay? So, baby, if you want a TikTok, please do so, because y'all know I be on there. If you want a TikTok, you can do so. If you now listen, now some of them dances is a little risque,
Risque.
but if you want to do other stuff, that's your business. And even if you want to do them dances, that's your business. Just don't send it to me. You can TikTok. I don't care how old you is. Do you think that TikTok said we not gonna make this for 40-year-olds? No. So tell them to mind their business. They jealous because they won't get on there and do it. Boom.
In all of that. In all of that.
And that's the viewer's choice comment.
Boom. So TikTok on 40 and up. Excuse me, but that's me. That's called
Okay, I'm TikToking right now.
That's called mature woman status.
I'm TikToking right now.
You better get you a mature queen. Not me though. Not me though. Don't get me.
And I might do some stuff. So don't even go to my TikTok page. And that's the viewer's choice comment.
Hey, so well, y'all, that's the show for today. I thank y'all for the comments, for y'all watching live, for the support that y'all have given to my sister and me. If you have not subscribed to our YouTube channel, please go do so. If you have not ordered our new book, Relationship Status, what you waiting on? If you ain't got your merchandise, your crop tee, your crop hoodie, your t-shirt, what you waiting for? Go check it out at www.mysisterandme.com and check it out. Thanks, guys. We appreciate y'all. It's been real. You have joined Sister Conversations in Black, and we will see you next week for episode 7.
Bye.